Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel and this is the Hour of the Raven, your channel for everything Ravenloft, RPG, Dungeons and Dragons and horror. Today, we'll explore the past and secrets of Hazlik, the Red Wizard of Thay, who was trapped by the mists and became the Dark Lord of Hazlan. Are you ready? Determined to fulfill our part in the profane contract signed with Inahira, we began our search for the whereabouts of Tara Koliana. In a Russian village, the community leader agreed to help us, and we used a smoke pipe with the mysterious gossip root, which allowed us to glimpse the secret we seek in the flames of the campfire. Mesmerized by the flames, we began to glimpse strange horrors, and our mind loses focus on the search for Tara Koliana, getting lost in forbidden arcane secrets and ancestral mysteries. Our search for the secrets of Hazlan catches the attention of the dangerous head wizard Hazlik, and we feel his mind connect to ours. While he invades our consciousness, searching for our identity and exposing our secrets, we also capture fragment memories of the infamous Red Wizard. Hour of the Raven. Pay attention, you fools, or you will never discover the arcane path. The art of magic is not for the weak-minded and undisciplined. Abandon your silly moral convictions and dedicate yourself to learning the power and mysteries that I offer to my apprentice. Your will shall be tested, but true magic, like revenge, will require time and perseverance. Hazlik is the Dark Lord of Hazlan, and brings to the Ravenloft setting the villainous Red Wizards from Thay from the Forgotten Realms setting. Hazlik's character adapts for the theme of Gothic horror the figure of the evil wizard, a mage or vizier of great power, evil and intelligence, who so often figures as nemesis in many fantasy stories. The Red Wizard is an elderly man with wrinkled skin, completely bald, with tattoos covering almost his entire head and chest. He wears a pointed goatee and has eyes of different colors, with a brown left eye and a blue right eye. He always dresses in broad red robes, wearing a necklace with a yellow stone around his neck, and carries a black wooden staff wrapped in silver details, with a red stone on its top. Hazlik is a meticulous, methodical, and control-obsessed man. The cruel and powerful wizard carries a deep hatred and a strong desire for revenge, and uses such feelings as a motivator for his actions and plans. His harsh voice sometimes reveals that behind his restrained behavior hides a constant impatience and irritation, the result of his frustrations in reaching his main goal of revenge. Hazlik is a Red Wizard from Thay, and specializes in the magic schools of evocation. He has powerful arcane spells at his disposal, but because of his traumatic past, he despises all necromantic magic. In addition to his spells, he has several magical items of great power, such as cloaks and rings of protection, and many magic wands, among them a fireball wand. His most powerful item is the amulet with a yellow stone that he always wears around his neck. If for some reason Hazlik is defeated or murdered, his soul will recede into the gem, and any individual touching the amulet will be magically compelled to use the item. Every night, the individual wearing the amulet will battle Hazlik in his dreams, and if the Red Wizard wins, he will own possession over the victim's body. Gradually, the victim's body will slowly transform into Hazlik's image, until he resurges as before. The Dark Lord of Hazlan is rarely found alone or unprotected, and is surrounded by countless guardians. His familiar is a frog called Lurzet, and the creature is permanently enchanted with a control shape spell. It can shape change, between his animal form, the shape of a man, or a grotesque hybrid between frog and man. In addition to Lurzad, Hazlan has a bestial and grotesque homunculus called Incubulus, and a construct of demonic form made of metal and wood, which are always ready to defend him. Hazlik is the supreme leader of Hazlan and can sense whenever someone uses arcane magic in his domain. At the age of 83, he still maintains mental clarity and physical vigor, but he has delegated most of the government of his kingdom to the hands of Eleni of Toyalis, his main disciple and ally. He spent most of his time in his palace on the Veneficus estate, researching and planning an important and powerful dark ritual. The Red Wizard is tormented by the dark powers. He has become the supreme ruler of a land with people and society that he despises and hates, but they are also the basis of his political power. More than that, the dark powers torture him with terrible nightmares, remembering his torments and failures each night, and the Dark Lord has used numerous subterfuges to prevent sleep. When Hazlik wishes to close the borders of his domain, he lights an incense and concentrates, and the borders of Hazlan are surrounded by a powerful wall of flame. These flames can quickly reduce anyone who tries to cross it to ashes, but they require a large concentration of Hazlik, and such extreme measure is rarely used by the Red Wizard. But what events led Hazlik to keep deep in his soul this intense hatred and desire for revenge? What sinister crimes brought the furious Red Wizard from Thay to the rank of Dark Lord in the Land of the Mists? Hazlik was born 83 years ago in the realm of Thay, in the region of the unapproachable east of the Faerun continent from the Forgotten Realms setting. Born among the ruling class of the Mulan, Hazlik demonstrated great talent for the arcane arts and specialized in the magical school of evocation. His ambition and skill led him to a rapid rise in power, and he soon became a Red Wizard of Thay, a member of the powerful magocracy that tyrannically ruled those lands. The swift rise of the arrogant Hazlik caused envy and dispute among the Red Wizards, but Hazlik was cruel and canny, and escaped countless intrigues and traps devised by his enemies to bring him down. During his successful trajectory, he met a rival who equaled him in ambition and cruelty. The necromancer Tantosia became his deadly nemesis, and every time he was supplanted by one of her schemes, Hazlik lost control of his temper and hatred, and finally revealed a weakness to be exploited by his enemies. In addition to the hate born of rivalry, another element aroused resentment in Hazlik. The Red Wizard fervently desired Ordiab, Tantosia's lover, and fought hard to hide his secret passion. Despite his efforts, Hazlik's hidden desires were discovered by his rivals, and together with Tantosia, they set a trap for the Red Wizard. In a night of intrigue in the courts of Thay, Ordiab approached Hazlik, suggesting a romantic encounter. Deceived by his feelings and desires, Hazlik attended to the amorous encounter and gave in to passion. However, it was all a trap, and Tantosia and other rivals and conspirators soon appeared at the scene, accusing Hazlik of attacking Ordiab. Caught in a vulnerable situation, Hazlik was imprisoned, and his enemies humiliated him, drawing tattoos on his chest and head with symbols of femininity, only used by women wizards. Humiliated and wounded, Hazlik discovered that his enemies were not content to devastate his body and honor, but also burned and destroyed his property. The Red Wizard managed to escape, but had to abandon his life in the cruel society of Thay, where he had become an outcast and a laughing matter. Isolated, he dedicated himself to his arcane studies and plans for revenge. After months of isolation, fate smiled at the Red Wizard's desires for revenge. While looking for material components for his magic ritual in the woods, he found a hidden clearing where his rival Tantosia and his lover Ordiab indulge their desires, catching his rivals off guard. Hazlik used his spells to excel over his enemies. He plucked Odiab's heart with a dagger, and forced Tantosia to drink her lover's blood, before tearing his rival's throat. This act of brutality did not satisfy Hazlik's desire for revenge and hatred. His humiliation and ostracism led him to irrational hatred against the entire Mulan race, and against all Red Wizards of Thay, and he would not be satisfied before completely destroying those who mocked him. Hazlik's plans were thwarted, however, because the woods where he had committed this brutal murder were suddenly surrounded by a strange mist that took him to the demiplane of dread. Hazlik emerged from the mists in the dreamlike nightmare lands, where his worst fears and humiliations took shape in the fluid reality of dreams. Frightened and panicked, Hazlik fled to the mist frontier, consumed by hatred, fear, and desire for revenge, and the Dark Powers decided to bestow him the domain of Hazlan, where he became the new Dark Lord and also a tormented prisoner. Hazlik emerged in the domain that was a gloomy portrait of his own homeland in Thay, where the Mulan ethnic group and the Red Wizards were fighting a civil war, and the oppressed Rashamen were struggling to survive. Despite his stigmatizing tattoos, Hazlik did not give the society time to ostracize him, and using his powerful arcane talents, he put an end to years of conflict, usurping the throne as the supreme ruler. As determined by the tradition of those lands, the region ruled by the Hazlik dynasty was renamed Hazlan. The Red Wizard soon found himself in an ironic position. He still harbored a deadly hatred for the Mulan, and longed to destroy the Red Wizard of his homeland in Thay. However, he saw himself as the absolute leader of a kingdom that was a mirror image of his hateful homeland, and he knew that if he changed the dynamics of society, he would lose his position of power. Hazlik was a capable wizard, and he soon realized that he was in a type of dimensional prison in the demiplane of dread, and prevented from exercising his desire for revenge. Hazlik accepted his position of power as the Dark Lord of those lands, allowing the dominance of Mulan's society to continue, while he used his resource and position of power to find a way to escape this plagued condition. Hazlik would not tolerate, however, the presence of the Red Wizards in his realm, and in one of his first acts as ruler, he banned the use of arcane magic in his lands. He became the only wizard in all of Hazlan's territory, and found support in the Iron Faith, the Church of Bane that was rapidly gaining ground in the region after the northern contact with the Kingdom of Nova Vaza. As a reward for the religious support of his rule, Hazlik made the Iron Faith the state's official religion. The torments of the Dark Powers inflicted on Hazlik were not restricted to his misty prison amidst the people and society he hated so much. Hazlik also found himself plagued by his past. Perhaps because of his direct contact with the Nightmare Lands, the mage constantly dreamed of his torments at the hands of his rivals in Thay, and in these dreams he were always coward and afraid to act, reliving the horrors of his body mutilation by the shameful tattoos. To avoid such nightmares, Hazlik has developed strong arcane substance to suppress his need for sleep. The wizard now sleeps once every 5 days, but the longer he stays away from rest, the more he begins to hallucinate, and his nightmares seem to evade reality. Hazlik begins to feel a strong paranoia and see the face of his enemies in his servants and apprentices, believing that his palace in Veneficus are the halls of a palace in the distant land of Thay. For many years, Hazlik engaged in dangerous and terrible arcane experiments, in which he tested unwilling prisoners in search of a way to escape his prison of mist. Some of these experiments' subjects became immaterial and invisible as their bodies entered spiritual and ethereal states, losing their essence under the scrutiny of the Red Wizard. However bold and radical his experiments were, he found no way to escape his prison of mists. After more than 30 years ruling Hazlan and accumulating failed experiments, The events of the Grand Conjunction shook the demiplane of dread, and Hazlan was completely enveloped by the mists. During this period, Hazlik finally escaped his prison and returned to the realm of Thay in Forgotten Realms. The Red Wizard discovered that in his long absence from Thay, his rival and enemies grew in power, commanding dynasty with great arcane resources and wealth. He realized that his desire for personal vengeance were just illusions, and that he would never be able to destroy his enemies and take revenge on Thay and the Mulan people alone. His free time from his misty prison was short-lived, and soon the mist swallowed him once more to Hazlan. The domain had been displaced by the mist to the south, and was no longer bordered by the Nightmare Lands and the alien region of Bloodspur. While the population was still overwhelmed by the terror of these drastic geographical changes, Hazlik selected a group of people and led them through the Balinox to the Vale of the Red Wizards, where, using powerful magic, he lifted the Red Academy and the city of Ramulai from the ground. The Red Academy was the first step in a drastic change in Hazlik's policies on magic. Realizing that he would never have the strength to fulfill his desire for revenge without having under his command a force of powerful wizards to fulfill his designs, Hazlik opened an academy to train new apprentice wizards under his tutelage, and to use his knowledge and arcane studies for his greater purpose. Hazlik was frustrated by the failure of his plans of revenge, and began to provoke the dominant Mulan society in Hazlan. He determined that the Red Academy would accept apprentices from any ethnic background, including Hashaman, and the possibility of Hashaman's rise and the learning of arcane magic caused revolt in the high Mulan caste. These changes also caused a stir among the members of the Iron Faith, whose dogmas previously reinforced Hazlik's policies and preached against the use of arcane magic, considered an affront to Bane's law. The abrupt change in policy left the church members appalled. This conflict made Hazlik's relation with the Iron Faith tense, but the High Priest of the Iron Citadel in Toyalis chose not to confront the Red Wizard and endorsed Hazlik's guidelines, stating that he had been given a divine vision of the future that justified his actions. Such a choice may in the future generate a division in the Iron Faith, as the Iron Citadel of Hazlan is in direct confrontation with the religious dogmas of the central sect of the Church of Bane, commanded by the Divine Fist in Nova Vaza. In the years after the Grand Conjunction, Hazlik also found his main ally and possible successor to Hazlan's throne. While walking through the city of Toyalis, he crossed his path with a young Hashman of only 16, named Eleni. The young woman was overcome with fury and planned to take out her frustrations in a suicidal act, attacking and murdering the first Mulan who crossed her path. Hazlik easily subdued the girl, but her audacity and hatred towards the Mulan fascinated him. After interrogating and calming his attacker, he decided to take her to the Red Academy in Ramulai and test her aptitude for arcane talents. Under Hazlik's tutelage, Eleni demonstrated great aptitude and quickly mastered the arcane arts, becoming his most promising apprentice. Hazlik and Eleni's relationship became closer, and he became her mentor and confidant in a master and apprentice relationship. Hazlik saw in Eleni someone who reflected his deep and visceral hatred towards the Mulan, and who could help him in his plan for revenge. When the young woman suggested to the wizards that he should allow her to shave her head and wear the Mulan tattoos as an affront and challenge to society, Hazlik agreed and saw this as an opportunity. It was Hazlik himself who tattooed Eleni's body, covering her torso and head, imbuing them with powerful arcane energies. The scandal of this act shocked the higher society of the Mulan, and Hazlik, enjoying this small act of revenge, decided to further aggravate the situation. He secretly named her as heir to his throne and gave Eleni ample powers to rule on his behalf, responding only to him. At 83 years old, Hazlik knows that his advanced age may frustrate his plans for revenge. His rejection of the use of necromancy drives him away from any temptation to prolong his life as an undead, and he becomes increasingly frustrated and bitter. He now invests all his bets on a ritual that he has been developing for years, and his apprentice Eleni will have an involuntary role in the unfolding events. Only a fool would believe that Hazlik, a cruel and evil man, would intend to leave Hazlan's throne and his unfinished plans for revenge in the hands of his competent apprentice Eleni. The terrible truth is that Hazlik, although he has some affection for his apprentice, intends to use the young woman for his own purposes. While Eleni is dedicated to administering the realm of Hazlan on his behalf, Hazlik has been using his time and the resources of the Red Academy to research a ritual of great power which will finally allow him to achieve his goals. Hazlik believes he is close to developing an arcane ritual of unimaginable proportions, with the aim of destroying the entire Mulan people, not only in Hazlan, but also in Hazlik's homeland, in Thay. The city of Ramulai, raised from the mountain itself, has streets carved in stone and rocky houses that form strange mystical symbols that will serve to drain energy from the whole city and feed the power of this ritual. When the time for revenge comes, Hazlik, who is also a Mulan, will have his body destroyed by arcane energies, but his soul will be transferred to the body of his apprentice Eleni, thanks to the mystical tattoos he traced on the young apprentice's body. If Hazlik completes his genocidal ritual, millions will die by his magic, and the survivors will find in Eleni, his young successor to Hazlan's throne, the old eyes of the Red Wizard. As we glimpse Hazlik's best and secrets in our minds, we know that the wizard delves into our memories and begins some powerful spells that will destroy our minds with his arcane powers. Luckily for us, we are awakened from our stupors before the Dark Lord completes this destruction. In front of us are the hard faces of the Rashomon, but also the face of an anchorite of Ezra, which immediately reminds us of a picture that we glimpse in the cursed halls of Castle Ravenloft. She introduces herself as Tara Coliana, and seems to be curious about our search for her whereabouts. Before we explain ourselves, however, she asks us to follow her, as we will need to leave Hazlan's land immediately and move away from Hazlik's reach. Join us, subscribe to this channel, and activate notifications, and together we will unveil the identity of Tara Coliana and the many incarnations of Tatiana Fedorovna, the object of sickly love and obsession of the monstrous Strahd von Zarovich.